Welcome back. Thanks very much for staying with us there. Well, Cabinet was briefed about the current state of the electricity system as well as progress on the Energy Action Plan. The meeting discussed short and medium-term measures to ensure energy security, taking into account our immediate energy needs. For some reaction, we are now joined by Acting Government Spokesperson Michael Currin. Great pleasure to have you with us here on SABC News this evening. Good evening.
Hi, Flo. How are you?
I'm very well, sir. Thanks very much. All right, let's get to it. Let's talk about this briefing then, Michael. What exactly was Cabinet briefed on, and was there satisfaction on the part of Cabinet with what they were briefed on? And let's talk about also, progress of this Energy Action Plan.
Flo, thank you so much. And I mean, a part of the reason why I was quite keen to accept your invitation today is that we just want to get the context right so that people see what kinds of process we are in. So firstly, it was a briefing, not from Eskom, but it was a briefing from the Electricity Minister. And in our statement, we just wanted the public to know that there's often the sense that people may have, because the situation deteriorates so quickly, so often, that we're not as agile and as on top of this problem as as the public would want us to be. So I think the first thing is that the briefing was, what we can't elaborate today, Flo, and that's what I was also wanting to share, is that the briefing was really based on this kind of status report that I think the public and yourselves as the media may have seen Minister Ramaphosa give 2 weeks or so back, because he did those road shows around the country. And I think today, and the decision of Cabinet was that, look, we take the briefing, we've got a sense of what we've found and what we understand, but that, as we said in our statement, the best place to deal with the detail of this now would be at NECOM. Now, you may know, Flo, and the viewers, that NECOM is the structure chaired by the President, with all the lead ministries involved. So that was the decision. And I was just keen to share with you and the public that, I know there's a lot of speculation out there about what was discussed. There was no in-depth or in-detail decisions, because the view of Cabinet, as we said in the statement, is, okay, it's fine. We've taken this review. We've seen that there are challenges. We've seen that there are some areas of opportunity, but let's let the NECOM deal. And the President was quite clear that the NECOM meeting should happen very soon, because that grouping is very focused on the actual task. The lead departments involved in that NECOM are the ones where the solution lies. So we just at the point now where I just feel it's important that all of us understand that we firstly very much alive to this thing, and it really isn't easy to chase a bit of a moving target, because these great old stations of ours sometimes pack up unexpectedly. So it is a bit of a moving target. But then secondly, just to give comfort that we are looking at all the things in terms of immediate and medium-term solutions through the action plan.
So we know that the electricity minister has been, going and inspecting, and he's been doing a lot of sort of groundwork, as we understand. I understand when you're saying that at this moment that you can't elaborate that much, and sort of this was more of a little sort of briefing as to what was found and what was to be understood. So then what was found and what is the understanding now? Because I think what you're talking about is sort of the groundwork. So here we are. We've now been presented with, here's the problem, and so what is exactly then the problems that we're dealing with then, before we talk about a solution, and perhaps we'll have you later on another time to talk about those solutions then.
Look, Flo, definitely, and for the viewers, once we get into that space where we've looked at some of the solutions, I just want to assure yourself and the viewers, South Africans out there, that this is our absolute urgent priority, and we will make sure we regularly brief and give feedback. But to the issues that you raised about what was found, I mean, it's one thing to have a broad analysis, but once you've been on site and you've actually seen the kinds of problems around the first area of our work. Now, we all know the first area of our work is to make sure that the fleet that we have remains up to the task of generating what we need. So that really making sure that we can keep generation up at Eskom and fixing the plant where we have to. Dealing with the issues of the the kinds of spare parts that they needed, that historically they didn't have an opportunity to use the correct part.
Yeah.
I mean, you've all heard that before, and I must say it's very real, because some of the things that have been discovered is that when you put a part that's not the original supplied part to a system, it damages the other parts of that system as well. So that first area is quite complex, and the minister was giving us a sense of some of those challenges. I mean, also remember that the enabling environment of quicker procurement has been a big game changer, because we're dealing here with very big and complicated instruments flow. So some of the components have a very long lead time because they're very expensive. Mm-hmm. So I think the first thing was to get a sense of we've definitely got to improve all the input factors in terms of getting the powers, the existing fleet up to scratch.
Yeah.
And then secondly, in terms of your question about looking forward, I mean, I think while we will come back at a later date with something more specific, I think what the statement was saying today to yourselves and to the public is that we realize that we have to be proactive. I mean, no citizen would feel comfortable with the government saying, look, we've got a plan. Even if some of the material circumstances change around that plan, you just keep following that same plan,
Yeah.
So,
but Mr. Currin, and what's important, and I think a lot of South Africans would agree with me, is that the biggest issue right now is that we're dealing, skating between stage 5, stage 6, goodness knows, stage 8, whatever we're on of load shedding. So when we're talking about a plan that is being implemented, we'd also then be talking about not just short term, but I suppose also long term. So is this plan is this perceived plan going to be broken down into a long term goals and short term? Because in the short term, we're tired of load shedding.
Yeah, no, Flo, I think that's the nub of the debate we're in at the moment, and I do want the nation and yourselves in the media to be comfortable that we have to get specific details before we come and put a half-baked story in the public domain. But that is what we need to do. We need to look at the obvious thing, and I mean the plan is there, the Energy Action Plan is there. There's major progress. We have been giving regular updates. The minister did allude to some of that before Easter. There are new sources of energy coming onto the grid from independent producers. So there's a whole range of successful interventions. But we have to ask ourselves, and I mean this is where we didn't, and that's why the decision was that we asked the NECOM to delve in greater depth. What things can we do to bring short-term relief? Yeah. What are the things we can have to see us through this transition period? Because in the next 18 to 24 months, if you look at some of the timelines that are there for building, right, in the wind farms or solar energy farms or whatever, full repairs to some of the existing power stations that are coal-fired that are going to be there for a while still. While you do that, Flo, we do need to look at some short-term solutions. And then obviously all around that, I mean, the debate that we heard in the media last week was, this feeling that we're going to drop our commitment to decarbonizing our economy and our global risks. I mean, we have to make very pragmatic decisions. We have to, and I think our government's leadership style, Flo, is to say, look, we have to adapt our policy. We're not going to change our status. We're not going to change our standing to become a pariah in the world, to renege on commitments we've made to decarbonization. But within that trajectory, we can't have a situation where we're just sitting and looking and saying, well, you know what, let's just wait and see and hope that things improve. This is a government that takes quite decisive steps as and when we have to, because at the end of the day, like you correctly said, we cannot. I mean, virtually every meeting that I've been in this week has ended with load shedding. So it really is a serious problem, and as government, we are very, very alive to it. So yes, Flo, I really am giving the sense that although we can't give specifics, we did issue the statement today, just to make, because there was a lot of speculation. And I think it's very unhealthy when people don't have proper facts or information, and then they go out in the public and make assumptions about what Cabinet said and did, Yeah. But we do have a work path, a short-term work path. Obviously, Flo, the biggest win is that the existing fleet must perform better.
All right.
So everything that's needed to do that, we're trying to ensure that that's firmly in place, and any blockage around that has been taken out of the way, you know.
All right.
So that's the quick win, is to do that. And then obviously the other quick win is, what can we do to make these existing bulk bed, you know, we said the bulk bed, to perform better. Those are some of the ideas we do. Because I mean, at the end of the day, short of us all taking treadmills in our backyard and powering them up with human energy, I mean, there's, you know, we really have to look at options around how we can get more electricity on the grid quicker, you know. But at the same time, just also while we're there, I know it's a tough call, but, you know, like in the water space, when you say every drop counts, the whole issue of demand management, if we can really just use that which we need, essentially we don't use enough, you know, electricity for things that are not necessary. You won't believe how much saving that can generate to the whole system. If all of us each bring on our little pool of watts, because we don't use so much electricity, it actually, in its combined state, gives the system a bit of relief. You know, we could actually save, if we were all very diligent, we could save 1,000 megawatts of electricity, which is a whole stage on any given day. You know?
All right, Mr. Currin, let's leave it there. Yeah, unfortunately, we're out of time. Thanks very much for giving us your time. As always, acting government spokesperson Michael Currin there, just giving us some feedback there about Cabinet being briefed today about the current state of the electricity system, as well as progress on the Energy Action Plan by the Minister of Electricity.